Hey everybody, I'm here today with another Let's Make a Card video. I'm going to be featuring Two Paper Divas stamps today. Here's a look at the card that I'm going to make, so let's go ahead and get started. So I went ahead and I've pulled out my Misty. I've got a sized A2 top folding note card in there that is white, and I've taken this high heel stamp. It's from the brand new Two Paper Divas stamp set that you see there. And they have all different kinds. So if you do use the same stamp set, you can switch it up. I'm just going to be using the plain heel today. But I've also stamped it on some Ink and Inkadoo masking paper and trimmed those out ahead of time. I've got some space holders up there that were 2 inches and 1.5 inch. There they are black. I will end up switching that in the end. But those were my space holders to go ahead and know where I needed to place my heel on the card. I'm going to be doing a row of high heels horizontally across this card. So I have lined that up in there, and I'm just going to be moving my paper, which is why I have my Misty out. I'm going to go ahead and use Memento here. I need to find a really good black dye ink that I love, and I can't decide which one to go with. So right now I'm stuck with my Memento and my VersaFine. And VersaFine, I didn't want the chance of smudging. So I went ahead and just used Memento, and I'm going to just double stamp so I get a nice impression with it. As you all know, it's not a very dark black. And I do apologize, I'm having to move this Misty because I am using it horizontally, so it doesn't all stay in the frame when I stamp. So I went ahead and stamped my first one, and I'm going to make an X on the line where my card was lined up, just so I know that I've already put it there. So if I have to step away for a minute, I can go ahead and know that, okay, I've already lined up there. I need to move my card over. So I moved it over 2 spaces, 2 squares in my Misty, so 1/2 inch. And then I'll go ahead and mask off my high heel with one of those masks that I've already created. I went ahead and stamped that down, and I will stamp again, and then I will mask that off. Now, because I am doing these close together, I do need to mask off 2 at a time before I can remove those masks. So I'll just mask this one off that I've stamped, and then I will move my card base over another 2 spaces, and then go ahead and repeat stamping. And that is basically how I get my horizontal row of heels. It's just a matter of masking and stamping. I'll go ahead and speed through this since you've seen me do a couple of them now. But you can just see I'm moving that over and moving my masks along as I go. And I keep putting those X's up there so I know that I've already stamped that line. And you'll see why in just a moment what happens when I get a little confused. But it's all good. It works out in the end. But you'll see here in just a second that my paper shifts. Because I'm having to move it outside of my Misty, it's a little hard to keep under control. It works well, but you just really need to pay attention because I went to go move my Misty down and I knocked my paper, but I didn't even notice. So here I'll stamp this down and pull it up, and it's not right where I aligned it because I bumped my card. So I sat there and I thought for a minute, okay, do I want to restart this whole card or do I just go with it? So I went ahead and went with it to see how it ended up. And ends up, you really can't tell once it's all said and done. And it gives a little interest, I suppose. It is a handmade card, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But now I'm moving on to a little distress inking. I've got my colors there off to the right, and I am just moving down in rainbow order across the card. I'm using 2 colors at a time, switching between the 2 until I get the blend that I want and the intensity of the color that I want. There you can see I'm all finished, and now I'm moving on to my 2-inch panel. And I have switched to this sand, it's between a taupe and a gray colored cardstock. My heat gun went out, so I was going to emboss in white on black, which would be awesome. But I don't have that option, so I switched to a tan color. I went ahead and I've taken this stamp, and it says, if the shoe fits, buy one in every color, which is just awesome. I mean, we all love our shoes, right? So I went ahead and I stamped the top portion of that, and to be able to do that, I went ahead and masked off with some tape, peeled up the tape once I had put the ink down and was able to stamp on that. Again, when I'm using my Misty, I am able to line up my stamp perfectly straight on these because it does have the grid markers on. And you could see I picked my Misty up there so I could look through it and make sure that I had my sentiment on there straight. Now for my bottom portion, that is 1 inch, I am stamping the bottom portion of the sentiment on the right hand side this time. My top portion was on the left hand bottom corner, and this is on the right hand top corner. So it kind of goes in a diagonal, the sentiment will, on the card, and you'll see what I mean when I finally get it put together. But I'll go ahead and stamp buy one in every color on the bottom portion of that. And I am stamping and versifying with this just because I wasn't afraid of smudging at this point. So to finish this card off, I went ahead and took those 2 sentiment panels. I put some fun foam on the back of them with some double-sided adhesive. I will peel that off, pop the top one on, and then I will pop the bottom one on. And there you can see that I have If the Shoe Fits, buy one in every color. And my distress inking, all those crazy lines are covered up with those 2. And that finishes the card off for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will leave you with just a few pictures. For more information and the complete supply list, you can visit my blog, craftingwhilehalfmated.wordpress.com. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy crafting!